My name is Celia Squires, and I will be presenting on Ignatius of Loyola. Ignatius of Loyola was born in 1491 in Loyola in Castile, Spain. He was born to a wealthy and noble family as the youngest of 13 kids. This led to a very rambunctious growing up and led to him ultimately leaving his family when he was 16 years old, and he left in 1508 to become a page for Juan Velasquez in Castile. So Juan was a relative of theirs, and he began working as a page, which was someone who completed errands and different things for him. Juan Velasquez was a treasurer of Castile, of the state at the time, so this helped led Ignatius to live a lavish lifestyle. It has been said from sources that he had very loose morals, and he was someone who lived with a lot of wealth and has been said to enjoy the material world. He did not live closely to his morals and was even put in jail twice during his young adulthood. So Ignatius was far away from being a saint in his early life. Ignatius joined the military and eventually even was wounded in battle while he was defending Pamplona. He was hit by a cannonball while he was defending Pamplona from France in 1521. His right leg was fractured bad, and he experienced some damage to his left leg as well. He was put into surgery where they were hoping to recover him in Pamplona. However, something went wrong and he had to be shipped to Loyola to undergo surgery a second time. The surgery in Loyola was to fix some of the mistakes that happened in Pamplona's recovery. However, the attempts to fix the previous ones led to more mistakes in recovering his right leg. So this left him really ill and near death. This forced him to be in bed longer than expected, and he was bedridden for over a year in Loyola. While in bed, he asked to read. He was hoping to read stories of knights, about chivalry, things that he was interested in. He wanted to hear stories of heroes. However, where he was staying, they did not have any books like this. The only books they had were books about Jesus Christ's life and about the saints. He chose to read these because he had no choice, and he was captivated. He read all of them with interest and was invested in what was being said about each individual. He viewed Christ and the saints as the heroes that he loved to hear the stories about. While after reading these and starting to feel moved by the stories of Christ and the saints, he had a dream of the Mother of God informing him that the Lord was doing work through him if he chose to follow. This moved Ignatius, and it led to his spiritual awakening and a total 180 of the lifestyle that he was previously living. When he was recovered, he went to Montserrat, where he confessed his life sins for 3 days. He prayed to the Lord and confessed everything that he had done until finally he gave up his sword and his armor and said he was going to live a impoverished lifestyle. He gave all of his belongings to someone who was poor and decided to live his life through a poor lifestyle where he was going to live like a beggar. He was hoping to do this in order to live like the saints, because that was something they did. After his confessions and taking on this new lifestyle, he walked to Manresa from Barcelona, which was about 40 kilometers or 30 miles. And here he lived in a cave and all over the place, but a cave for a period of time. While in the cave, here he meditated and he prayed. He battled with his conversion, with his faith, and then developed something called the spiritual exercises. The spiritual exercises are something that Ignatius is well known for, as the spiritual exercises are something that led to the Society of Jesus, or what is now known as the Jesuits. The spiritual exercises were things written for people leading others in prayer to help teach them how to guide others in their relationships with the Lord. The spiritual exercises leads people on and through silence, through meditation and prayers, and often has been used as retreats for a way for people to live in silence and re-guide their own relationship with the Lord. His spiritual exercises led him into wanting to become a priest. However, growing up in the militia and dedicating his life to defending Pamplona and being in the military before he decided to dedicate his life to his spirituality, he had not gotten the proper education that prepares one to study to become a priest. So he had to go back to school and started at the equivalent of grade school. So he was studying alongside young boys and children to learn Latin grammar in order to prepare himself to go to school for priesthood. So he was well behind many of his other peers who were of the same age, if not younger, in their journey to priesthood, while he was alongside children. Eventually, in 1529, he was able to begin his actual study of priesthood and went to the University of Paris. There, he lived with Francis Xavier and Peter Faber, who helped him develop the Society of Jesus. The Society of Jesus began with the three of them, when they devoted their lives to God through committing to living in poverty, chastity, and their obedience to the Lord. In 1534, 6 others, including his roommates, had joined Ignatius in the Society of Jesus. Through this, Ignatius became one of the most prominent figures in the Counter-Reformation. The Counter-Reformation was to help the Catholic faith oppose what the Protestants were doing starting in 1517, when the Protestants started to start a Reformation away from the Catholic Church. So this helped Ignatius build his firm standing and develop the Society of Jesus even more, as he aided the Catholic Church in maintaining a following and maintaining what it means to be in the Catholic faith. The followers of the society were called Jesuits. Moving forward, as the society began to develop, as he was able to complete his schooling in 1537, in June of 1537, he was ordained as a priest. However, he did not lead his first Mass until 18 months later, on Christmas Day in 1538. His first Mass was in St. Mary Major in the Chapel of the Manger in Rome. He did not lead his first Mass until Christmas Day, and this was after he had a dream. This dream was him standing in between the Lord and Jesus Christ, and the Lord was telling Jesus that Ignatius was going to become a servant of him. This really led him to continue to obey or lead his life through the Society of Jesus and complete his obedience to the Lord by being a servant of Jesus. This vision helped him guide what his first Mass was going to be about on Christmas Day in Rome. On September 27th in 1540, Pope Paul III officially named the Society of Jesus an official religious order under the Catholic Church. Then he named Ignatius as the Father General of this official order. Ignatius centered his spiritual life on the essential foundation of Christianity, the Trinity, Christ, and the Eucharist. His spirituality is expressed in the Jesuit motto that he led through this official order, and in Latin that is ad majorem Dei gloriam, which means for the greater glory of God. That was the main message of the Jesuits that Ignatius meant to push, and as they try to grow the Society of Jesus, that is the goal of what they were sharing. As the society grew now as an official order under the Catholic Church, it grew over the next 15 years up to over 1,000 new members and new followers. While the original 6 Jesuits spread all across the world, spreading in the west all the way to Brazil and in the east all the way to Japan, Ignatius stayed in Rome and he stayed committed to the city of Rome. He stayed committed to his life to help the poor and help the sick in Rome, while he also guided the Jesuits and the new followers by writing them letters. He wrote over 7,000 letters to new members of the society to help guide them in their relationship with the Lord and their spiritual exercises, as well to the original 6 Jesuits and to guide them in their teachings. They founded Jesuit schools and churches all across Europe as they continued to push the message along. And Loyola left his mark particularly on Rome, where he founded the Roman College, which was the start of the Gregorian University, and began a seminary for German candidates for their priesthood. He also established a home for young women and one for the converted Jews as well. In his studies, he determined that women are most often they're better ruled by other women rather with this special vow of obedience to the Pope. This was focused for everyone in the Society of Jesus, and Ignatius was particularly important in creating this space for young women as well. He continued to be a leader through this and continued up to his death in 1556. He tried to step down as he could feel he was sick due to some long-term health issues, but even though he stepped down, remained in his role of leadership until his death on July 31st. Following his death, Ignatius became Saint Ignatius in 1622. He was blessed by Pope Paul V in 1609, which is the first step in becoming a saint, and then was canonized or officially named a saint in 1622 by Pope Gregory XV. He was named saint, the patron saint of education, retreats, soldiers, and the Society of Jesus. Thank you.